It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Hello. Welcome to episode number 89 of the Rob Carson Show podcast. Hope you're doing well. We've got a loaded show today. And as I continue the podcast, we're trying to decide, or I'm trying to decide, because this is mine. I don't have a producer or anything, when to release the podcast on a daily basis. I'm going to work really hard to get it done by 1 in the afternoon, so you have plenty of time to listen to it throughout the day. But we do have a lot of stuff we're going to get to, including the FBI confirms the war on cops exists. We've got some unbelievable college insanity on the way here. While leftists are caterwauling about the repeal of Obamacare, hundreds, perhaps thousands of veterans are still dying waiting for care at VA hospitals, and just a lot of fun stuff as well. So a little bit of political, a little bit of not political as well. You can make sure to check out the website, robcarsonshow.com. I am on Facebook at Rob Carson Show and at Twitter at Rob Carson. Also, the swag line available at teepublic.com, teepublic.com. Just look up Conservatees, Conservatees. You're going to love the stuff. We just added some new designs, including a really cool design that features the Republican elephant outline and the flags, colors of the state of Maryland. We're working on some Missouri stuff and some more Kansas stuff, and then, of course, the national stuff as well. Our sponsor is, of course, Grass Monsters KC, grassmonsterskc.com, 5520 Raytown Road, Raytown Mo. They carry American-built Dixie choppers. They carry American-built Hustler mowers. They are spectacular zero-turning radius models, and they are built like a brick excrement house. You can get great financing and great warranties on not only the engine and drivetrain, but the frame as well. Check out these great models. Just go to grassmonsterskc.com, grassmonsterskc.com. Thanks for checking them out, all right? Married couples are splitting over Trump. You know, the country's really, really seriously divided. There is a lot of hate, You know, this weekend, last week, I should say, I went back to Maryland. And I remember I did a big rave on the supposed women's march that happened in Washington, D.C. a week or so after Trump's inauguration. It really wasn't a women's march. It was just leftist women who are pro-choice and voted for Hillary Clinton march. And a bunch of radical leftists, socialists, communist, anarchist groups that got together as well. Not a women's march. So I go there. We're hanging at our very good friend's house. I know that some of my friends unfriended me when I went off on the women's march, for my opinion on the women's march. And we went to a good friend's home, and she was wearing her women's march T-shirt. Oddly enough, I've been away for 6 months. Chose that night to wear, and I didn't say anything. I wasn't going to argue. Wasn't going to go there. Couples are feuding over politics, especially Donald Trump. Many of them breaking up, even heading to divorce court. New data from Wakefield Research, Arlington, Virginia-based polling company. 1 in 10 couples ended their relations over political disagreements, with millennials parting ways at a particularly high rate of 22%. Really? Huh. I don't know, man. Your relationship, you've got to get this stuff out in the beginning of the relationship before you're seriously into it or even married. The survey, which was conducted nationwide with 1,000 participants from April 12th to the 18th, found 22% of Americans know a couple whose marriage or relationship has been negatively impacted, specifically due to President Trump's election. And there's a lot of propaganda out there. 93% of the media coverage of Donald Trump is negative. Some people bite. New York-based attorney, divorce attorney, Lois Brenner says, in my 35 years of matrimonial practice, I've never seen so many couples split over political disagreement as the Trump election. The essence is, you must agree with me. Since I specialize in the psychology of divorce, this essence has its root in narcissism, antisocial personality disorder, even obsessive-compulsive disorder. I am frequently mediating these disputes between couples to help them draft a postnuptial or separation agreement. More than 1 in 5 Americans in a relationship or marriage report having more disagreement over Trump's policies than money woes. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. I watch my news on my own. She watches her news on her own. We cut the cable, so we don't even have Fox or CNN anymore. The money woes thing, we still got going. we still got going. Oh, did you hear about this story? A woman, a 68-year-old woman, goes by a house party. She's apparently one of the condo development leaders. 68-year-old woman. There were 200 kids at this pool party going on at the condo, and apparently neighbors had been complaining about it. She goes down, and she says to turn down the music, and one of these kids lifts this 68-year-old woman up and body slams her to the ground, then drags her and throws her into the water. By the way, she had her phone with her, which was ruined. She was left with bruises on her shoulder. Well, the kid turned himself in. Leon Balfour, 16-year-old, turned himself in. He says, I messed up, and I have to own up to it. Well, good. Hopefully his mother gave him what for. He was charged with one count of battery on a person 65 years or older. No telling if he's going to be charged as an adult. Also, apparently it's unclear whether he intentionally slammed her to the ground or slipped. It looked pretty intentional to me. And I don't know what kind of person does that. But the crowd was gathered around, and they were saying, throw her in, throw her in. And there's a lot of that crap going on with live Facebook video. When you put a camera between yourself, and something that is going on, like it's a fight, a lot of the times it ends up being filtered, and you lose your mind. Some people do, and lose their sense of what's right and wrong. While most of the partygoers fled the scene, a few stayed behind, helped the woman find her 2 dogs that she had. They didn't throw the dogs in the water. But Nancy James is her name, by the way. She says, I'm very happy that they caught the person. And, he's going to pay the piper now. No, here we go. New FBI reports find that the war on cops is real, has deadly consequences. And this could have all been averted. This could have all been stopped by the previous president while Ferguson was burning. There were, by remaining silent, tacit endorsements of the violence that was happening around the country. A refusal to admit the crisis in the black community with regard to violence and poverty and abortion and fatherless children, all that stuff. But the president chose not to. He just kind of let it happen, let Rome burn, essentially. But apparently, we've seen a depolicing in the wake of protests that left political leaders, some political leaders seem to support. Law enforcement not only felt that their national political leaders stood against them, but also that the politicians' words and actions signified that disrespect to law enforcement was acceptable in the aftermath of the Michael Brown shooting, according to the notes in the study. The assailant study, Mindsets and Behaviors, examines the men behind 50 cop killings last year. Most of the perps were simply looking to avoid arrest, but 28% actively hated police and desired to kill law enforcement. Several, including killers in Dallas and Baton Rouge, were clearly inspired by the protests that began at Ferguson. So there was a fomenting of violence. There was a false narrative peddled by the media. And there was ultimately a distraction from the real problems that's happening in the black community with young black men, and the blaming it on police. It is amazing. The distraction was complete. So in short, the FBI has again proved the Manhattan Institute's Heather McDonald right. She spent the last 2 years describing the dynamic, stating Chicago is an exhibit A in what happens when the police back off from enforcing public order, having been told that maintaining control of the streets constitutes racial oppression. And protests and political sympathy for them have created an environment where law enforcement officials believe that defiance and hostility displayed by assailants toward law enforcement appears to be the new norm. And it's happening everywhere. People getting involved in police stops when they don't have the answers and they have their phones there and they're screaming at police officers. Can't even imagine what they go through. But they're dying. Hopefully this will turn around. Not meaning to be depressing here, but we've heard a lot of caterwauling over the last weekend and the last week about people are going to die, people are going to die, people are going to die because the Obamacare is going to be repealed and replaced. Reading a piece by John Linder for the Daily Caller. Our VA healthcare system is the closest thing we have to government medicine today. It has 1,700 clinics and hospitals serving almost 9 million veterans, but that system is not absent financial rewards. In 2014, the year that the Phoenix VA waiting list fraud became known, the VA paid out $142 million in bonuses to employees. In the VA healthcare system, the patients are merely tools by which the staff is measured for bonuses. The boss is the one to be served. He or she decides whether your work is satisfactory and what your bonus should be, and frequently they get it. They get that bonus without increasing or decreasing the waiting times for patients across the country. And that's why more than 100 veterans died waiting for care at the Los Angeles VA hospital. There was an Inspector General's report reported in the Washington Free Beacon that said 100 veterans died while waiting to see someone at the facility. More than 100 veterans while waiting for the Veterans Affairs Hospital in Los Angeles over a 9-month span, ending in August 25th, according to a new government report. The VA of Inspector General found a recent healthcare inspection that 225 veterans at the VA Greater Los Angeles healthcare system died with open or pending consults between October 1st, 2015 and August 9th, 2015. Nearly half, 117 of those patients died while experiencing delays in receiving care. Inspector General reported that 43% of the 371 consults scheduled for patients who ended up dying were not timely because of a failure by VA employees to follow proper procedure. The report was unable to substantiate claims that patients died as a result of delayed consults. Now, you'll recall in 2014, Congress rushed through the Veterans Choice and Accountability Act. Remember that? Remember that joke? They rushed it through. They rushed it through so quickly after the Phoenix VA. And all they wanted is that soundbite. All they wanted was that photo op. Now, this apparently channeled significant funding into the agency for hiring more staff and streamlining the processes for patient care, while offering veterans who couldn't get a timely appointment at the VA center the option of going to a civilian facility. But it was a good step. But some of the centers receiving significant funds for staffing and referrals weren't seeing any real improvements despite the increased resources. So people are bellyaching that the Obamacare is going to cause people to die. Well, people are already dying with government health care right now, folks. Right now, it's happening. Kellyanne Conway went after a heckler at Reagan National the other day. Had to be restrained by Secret Service. Apparently, this guy, is just doing this drive-by thing. This heckler yelled, "Keep trashing America!" at Kellyanne Conway. And the photographer there, apparently there's a Washington photographer, Mark Wilkins, saw it. And apparently said, Conway fired back, "I like the way you talk shit when I'm walking away." The photographer claimed the Secret Service had to intervene, put their arms up to block her because she was going to go after him. Good for her. I can't even imagine how difficult it is to be Kellyanne Conway or anybody who's a high-profile agent in the Trump administration right now. Sean Spicer got it. He yelled at it at Starbucks a few weeks ago. All right, let's move on to some other stuff away from the politics. Although, let me just mention this right now. Chelsea Clinton running for office. Do you think anybody's interested? No, not so much. 27% of registered voters say they'd support Clinton if she ran for public office. 48% said they would rather not see her run. The remaining quarter of voters said they had no opinion or unsure. By the way, 48% of Democrats say they'd support her run for office. 74% of Republicans said they would not because she's, like her mother, an awful person. An awful person. And a spoiled, entitled person who's done nothing in her life, essentially, but live with the Clinton name. All right. Zero tolerance at schools. I've been talking about this for 20 years. Zero tolerance at schools generally results in zero brains. Really, really stupid stuff. This has been an attack on masculinity, an attack on boys. for some sort of perceived slight in the past. And obviously, boys had been favored in the country, in academia forever. Hey, okay, I get you. Fine. My generation wasn't that way. My son's generation isn't that way. But there's still a war on masculinity in the world is happening on college campuses with the supposed rape culture, which does not exist. Where 1 in 5 co-eds are sexually assaulted by the time they graduate from college would make it worse than the rape rate, worse than Afghanistan. But let the facts get in the way. It's using Title IX to go after men. It was originally supposed to just be there as an equalizer for women's sports and men's sports, because men's sports are the moneymakers and they got all of the funding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what it was there for. Now it's being used against men. And now almost any sign of boyish behavior, for instance, making your hand in the shape of a gun, playing cops and robbers at recess, that's taboo. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Absolutely not acceptable. And it's meant to punish boys. Well, apparently in middle school, Zachary Bolin in Ohio got handed a 10-day suspension for liking a picture of a gun on Instagram with the caption, "Ready." Now, you're immediately thinking, okay, he's ready to kill somebody. He's going to go into school. He's going to blow away. No, not so much. There's a reason why. And by the way, it really wasn't a gun. Here's a story from a TV station. I believe this is out of Cincinnati about a kid suspended for 10 days for liking a picture.
10 days time for a social media crime?
I didn't think I did anything wrong.
But Edgewood Middle School did when they found out 7th grader Zachary Bolin had liked a picture of a gun on Instagram.
Da, 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 da!
He never shared. He never commented, never made a threatening post, anything on the site. Just liked it.
Next morning, they called me down and patted me down and checked me for weapons, and then they told me I was getting expelled or suspended or whatever.
The note sent home to his parents said the reason behind the suspension was liking a post on social media that indicated potential school violence.
I was livid. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, you just suspended him for 10 days for liking a picture of a gun on a social media site.
The gun in question is an airsoft gun, and it's something Zachary and his friends like to play with. But the caption...
Yeah, it's an airsoft gun. It shoots plastic BBs.
...concerned the school as it simply read, "Ready." The superintendent released a statement to Fox 19 which read in part, "I assure you that any social media threat will be taken serious, including those who like the post when it potentially endangers the health and safety of students or adversely affects the educational process."
Wow. All of that wasn't shared. All of that disrupted the educational process, even though nobody saw it.
After a talk with school administrators, the Bolins tell us the suspension has been lifted, and just in time for this middle schooler to get back to pursuing his dreams.
There was this thing I was going to do, diesel mechanics, and I thought I wasn't going to be able to do that because this happened, but it's fine now.
A lot of young men are having their lives ruined by things like this. Are being kicked out of school. It stays on your record forever, and it will haunt the kid forever. In colleges, I just read a story. There was a guy who killed himself. A man actually said that he was hitting on him, I guess, in class, and the kid isn't gay, and forced himself on this other guy. The guy didn't have to prove anything, but the kid in question who was accused ended up killing himself. And generally, if it is sexual assault in school, in college, you are guilty before being proven innocent. That's just the way it is. So, fortunately, the reason shown through on this is kind of good news for the coal industry. And, sorry, there's a good chance the reason why your lights are on and you're able to listen to this podcast is because they burned coal at the coal plant, and you got your electricity because of it. While Barack Obama was president, coal production plummeted. 2014, the Coal Industry Council produced 1 billion tons of coal. 2016, that fell to 7.39. That's according to the U.S. Mine Safety and Health Administration. Falling production meant tens of thousands of jobs lost over the same period, a point Trump repeatedly reminded voters in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, states with large coal-related industries. Missouri is one of those. So since the president has taken office, in West Virginia, coal output has risen 9% compared to a year ago. Value of publicly traded U.S. coal companies has doubled over the last year, now an estimated $15 billion. I said this, buy fossil fuel, folks. Buy fossil fuel stock, I should say. Bloomberg also reports signing bonuses for coal miners have returned in some areas. Miners are snagging $1,000 signing bonuses, fully paid health care, raises again. Fortune estimates at least some of the 33,000 employees and contractors laid off from 2014 to 2016 are likely to be rehired. So that's good news. This is some of the larger cities. I believe Philadelphia is one of these cities. They're doing a beverage tax. But one of the ways it's being perverted is they're actually including diet beverages, which makes no sense whatsoever. And when you hear the reason why the mayor of Seattle has decided to add diet drinks to the soda tax, it's going to piss you off. Mayor of Seattle, who, by the way, is being investigated for allegedly raping at least 5 men in the 1980s, has altered the rules of his proposed soda tax, which would fund education for minorities. And the reason why diet drinks? Because affluent white people tend to consume them more. Under his initial plan, distributors of sugary drinks would have to pay 2 cents per ounce. It would cover sodas such as Coke, Pepsi, energy drinks, Red Bull, fruit drinks, sweetened teas, bottled coffees, such as those sold by Starbucks. The mayor claimed the tax would bring in $16 million in revenue to be spent on education programs aimed at reducing disparities between the city's white students and students of color. But the mayor has updated the plan after the staff of the mayor's office told him that the tax would actually disproportionately fall on poor minorities who have higher rates of soda consumption than white residents. Now, here's the problem. This supposedly originally was supposed to stem the use of sugary beverages, and the money was going to go towards obesity prevention programs. That's what it was all about. So what they did was they made up a need and they made up a tax. And the reason why they're taxing beverages is because they think the tax is too low. The same thing happened in the state of Missouri. They wanted to raise the cigarette tax. You know why they wanted to raise the cigarette tax? And by the way, was summarily defeated in the November election because it was they said it was too low. That's it. So they created a need very similar to this. And they're doing early education programs. The state of Missouri, that's what they wanted to do, early education programs. So you would have a moral obligation to either start smoking again or start smoking for the very first time. Right, wouldn't you? You're smoking for the kids, man. It is amazing. They've done the same thing. They've done the same thing time and time again. Democrats will come up with something like this. So the mayor changed the bill, lowering the levy to 1.75 cents per ounce, included diet drinks because they're favored by affluent white people. According to Reason, taxing diet drinks has become an issue of equality to the mayor because they're more likely to be consumed by upper middle class white people and therefore must be taxed as a way to fight white privileged institutionalized racism. Unbelievable. The white privilege tax may be a distraction for Murray, who's facing accusations from 4 men. And he paid for sex and sexually abused them in the 90s when they were teen boys. One of the men filed last month claims that Murray raped and molested him over several years, beginning in 1986, when the man was a 15-year-old high school dropout. Murray has denied the accusations. Now, I mean, if you believe Bill O'Reilly is guilty, then you'd have to think this guy's guilty, right? Right. Oh, by the way, despite Murray's attempts to win over by looking for ways to make more white people pay the soda tax, small business owners have been seen posting signs saying, "Hey, Mr. Mayor, $5 sodas, your pop tax sucks." And another group is called Keep Seattle Livable. Absolutely ridiculous. Institutionalized racism. That's institutionalized racism. You want to talk about institutionalized racism? An administration that admits they want to raise taxes because it will affect a group according to their race. Think about how ridiculous that is. What if it were, I want to raise taxes because I know that it will target black people or Hispanic people, but it's white people, so no big deal, right? No big deal. That's institutionalized racism. That's exactly what they say they're trying to prevent by recreating it in a different mode. Apparently, a California bar's drink promotion on Cinco de Mayo has caused a massive social media backlash. A lot of people saying it's racist and insensitive. Hennessy's Tavern in Dana Point, California, which doesn't it just sound like a place you want to go to Cinco de Mayo? Put up an inflatable climbing wall to represent the border wall, and patrons had to climb over to receive a faux green card, which entitled them to a free drink. It did not go over well on social media. Paul Hennessy, the guy who owns it, said that he was trying to criticize the border wall with the Cinco de Mayo promotion. Our intentions were to create a dialogue and show how ridiculous that it is to spend tens of millions of dollars to build a wall and even infer that Mexico foot some or the entire bill and have their citizens build it. So he's backtracking on this thing. Apparently, the bar handed out fake mustaches while customers chanted, "Build the wall." Were they allowed to tunnel under it? I mean, maybe they could do that. I don't know. Oh, this. All right. I work in radio. All right. And anyone in work in radio has heard the Cars for Kids jingle. And you've heard it if you've listened to radio. It's all Cars for Kids has been all over the place. K-A-R-S, Cars for Kids. You know what I'm talking. I don't want to plant the earworm in your head, but it's true. Well, apparently, this charity. Do you ever wonder when you see the commercial? You donate your car, Cars for Kids, K-A-S, but where does the money go? Have you ever investigated it? Have you ever thought about it? Did you donate a car to this? Did you ever wonder where it's going? Here's a report from CBS New York on Cars for Kids.
1-877 Cars for Kids. The jingle is catchy. Donate your car today. But does a donation come with a catch?
My main concern about Cars for Kids is that people don't know what's really happening with this charity.
Like how much of the money goes towards advertising. Donate online at carsforkids.com. According to Charity Watch, a nonprofit agency that reviews the financial efficiency of charities, Cars for Kids spent $17 million on commercials in 2015.
So when one makes a donation to Cars for Kids, they're basically paying for those ads.
Even more of the money, as much as 90%, according to the Minnesota Attorney General, goes towards a sister organization based in New Jersey called URA, which operates Jewish youth summer camps in New York.
It's important when people donate to a charity that they have information in terms of where their money's going.
Between 2012 and 2014, Cars for Kids raised $3 million in the state of Minnesota through car donations, but less than 12,000 of that went to Minnesota kids.
That's fine if people want to raise money for Orthodox Jews, but they need to be clear and state that's what the purpose is.
Cars for Kids issued a statement saying, since we are headquartered in the Northeast, many of our programs and recipients naturally come from this area. We believe Minnesota residents appreciate that their generous donations to Cars for Kids help children both in and out of state. Valerie Castro, CBS 2 News.
In 2009, Cars for Kids paid settlements in Pennsylvania after being charged with misleading donors there.
And as for New Jersey, well, the Attorney General's office would neither confirm nor deny it is investigating the charity, and we are still checking to see if New York is taking action.
Okay, now you hear these commercials around the country. I mean, this place sounds worse than the Clinton Foundation. In the state of Minnesota, and this is where the investigation began. And how much do you need nationwide? How much fundraising do you have to do for Jewish youth summer camps in New York? I mean, nothing against the Jewish youth. God bless you. You know, all that. Why do you need a national ad campaign for Jewish summer camps in New York State? Cars for Kids Minnesota from 2012 to 2014 raised $3 million in Minnesota through car donations. You want to guess how much of that went to Minnesota children? $12,000. $12,000 is all. That's worse than the Clinton administration. Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, that's going to wrap things up for episode number 89 of the Rob Carson Show podcast. I'm going to be doing episode number 90 here shortly. This one's going to be largely about university madness. Some of the things that are happening on campuses around the country are absolutely nuts. We'll get into that. And some serious and not so serious stuff as well. I want to thank you again for listening. I want to thank Grass Monsters KC, grassmonsterskc.com for being an official sponsor of the radio program, or the podcast, as I should say. I hope you enjoy it. If you get a chance to drop me an email, carsonontheradio@gmail.com. If you'd also do me a favor and share the word about the show, it would be terrific. If you haven't downloaded it on iTunes, it is at The Rob Carson Show. The Rob Carson Show. God bless you. See you back here for episode number 90 very soon.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.